Hey everyone, and welcome back to the All Sorts podcast. We're diving deep today into some fascinating research about Gobero, and I gotta say, I'm already hooked
Yeah, it's a pretty captivating site.
because it really challenges how we think about the Sahara Desert, right? Like, forget those endless dunes.
Right.
Gobero shows us a time when this super dry region was actually a green paradise.
Exactly.
Yep.
And what's so cool is it doesn't just give us one moment in time, it spans thousands of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking two distinct cultures who thrived in this green Sahara.
Okay, so two different cultures.
And they left behind a bunch of clues about how they lived, loved, even died.
Okay, so before we get to those cultures, though,
Sure.
I need you to paint me a picture here.
Okay.
How do we go from the Sahara we know today, this like barren land, to this vibrant green Sahara?
Right. Well, it's a huge transformation
Yeah.
driven by forces that are kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Like
It's a literal wobble in the Earth's orbit, right?
Right.
And that shifted rainfall patterns like
Oh,
So imagine, someone just flips a giant weather switch and suddenly monsoon rains are drenching the Sahara for centuries.
really?
Oh, yeah. And we're talking Lake Chad swelling to a size bigger than all the Great Lakes combined.
Wait, so Lake Chad was once like massive.
Huge. That's how big of a change we're talking about.
Okay, that's mind-blowing. So we've got this lush green Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
Now Gobero comes into the picture. And if I'm getting this right,
Yeah.
it wasn't even discovered by like archaeologists looking for ancient settlements, was it?
You got it. The discovery of Gobero was a total accident.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a paleontologist, Paul Sereno, was actually out hunting dinosaur fossils back in 2000.
So he's out looking for dinos?
Yep, and stumbles across human and animal remains instead.
Talk about a plot twist.
I know, right?
That's wild. But what's really cool is that Gobero isn't just like a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
It's got two distinct cultures here,
Yeah.
separated by 1,000 years, right?
Exactly.
The Kiphians first, and then the Tenarians.
Exactly.
Okay, so who are
Yeah.
the Kiphians?
The Kiphians, well, they were a strong people. Tall and strong, built for life in this green Sahara.
Okay.
They were expert hunters and fishers, used harpoons and microliths to get their food.
So they were really good at surviving in this environment.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
And get this, we even have some of their pottery.
oh cool.
Yeah, it's decorated with these really interesting wavy lines. Very distinctive.
So we're picturing these tall, strong people fishing in this huge lake,
Mm-hmm.
right, where there's just desert today.
Yeah.
That's like a total flip in perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, but what about the Tenarians who came later? Were they similar to the Kiphians?
Not really, no. They were pretty different.
Oh,
Yeah. Shorter, more lightly built, suggests a different kind of lifestyle,
okay, so maybe not as physically demanding.
Right, but still skilled hunters and fishers.
Uh-huh.
But there's something else, too, with the Tenarians.
What's that?
We see hints of maybe early cattle herding.
Wow, so they were maybe starting to domesticate animals?
That's what it looks like, yeah. And their pottery's totally different, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, forget wavy lines.
Okay.
We're seeing more geometric patterns with them, dots, zigzags, things like that.
So very distinct from the Kiphians.
Totally different style. Like they were making their own mark,
Yeah. So we've got these two different groups adapting to the Sahara. The Kiphians, built for strength. The Tenarians, maybe more reliant on managing resources.
Right.
But it makes you wonder, why did both cultures choose this same spot to bury their dead for so long?
That's where Gobero's geology gets really interesting. As that massive lake dried up,
Okay.
the roots of plants along its shores, they actually created a hard rock layer called rhizoconcretion.
Rise of what?
Rhizoconcretion. It's a mouthful, I know.
Okay.
But basically, this layer kind of encased the dunes where they buried their dead.
Interesting.
Yeah, protected them from the elements for thousands of years.
Like nature's time capsule.
Exactly.
It's wild how nature can preserve these stories, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, but I'm really curious about the burials themselves.
Oh, yeah.
It's not your typical graveyard, right?
No, not at all. This is where the real mystery starts.
Okay.
Because the Kiphians and Tenarians, they had completely different ways of burying their dead.
Interesting.
Yeah, and these differences could tell us a lot about their beliefs, how they viewed death, even how they adapted to this changing environment.
Okay, well, before we get into those burial mysteries,
Sure.
let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be stepping into the world of the Kiphian and Tenarian afterlife, so stick with us.
Definitely. Welcome back to our deep dive into Gobero.
All right, so we've set the scene, right? Lush Sahara, massive Lake Chad, two totally different cultures calling this region home.
Yeah.
But now let's talk burials.
Okay.
This is where it gets really interesting to me.
It's fascinating, yeah, because the Kiphians and Tenarians had completely different ways of doing it.
Okay.
And it's not just about the rituals. It might even be about how they adapted to that environment, you know?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's start with the Kiphians.
All right.
We're not talking traditional burials here, are we?
No, not at all. The Kiphians, they were buried in a way that's pretty unique.
Okay.
And kind of perplexing, I guess.
How so?
Well, picture this. Bodies tightly bound, almost like they're, collapsed accordions.
What?
Yeah, arms held close, knees pulled up to their chests.
That sounds almost, I don't know, uncomfortable.
Right. It's a striking visual.
Yeah, like they were forced into that position.
And it's caused a lot of debate.
I bet. So what are the theories? Why would they do that?
Some experts think they were wrapped in shrouds, maybe.
Okay.
Or bound with, animal hides before they were buried.
So like a mummy, almost.
Kinda, yeah. But it makes you wonder, was it practical?
Yeah, like easier to bury them that way.
Maybe. Or was it something deeper,
Like spiritual.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What were their beliefs about death?
Were they trying to keep the spirits from wandering around?
Possibly. Or maybe they thought it would help their soul's journey to the afterlife. Who knows?
It's a total mystery.
It really is.
Okay, and then we've got the Tenarians, and their burials are like the total opposite, right?
Yeah, much more relaxed, almost like they were just sleeping.
Oh.
They'd usually be laid on their sides, limbs kind of bent, nothing like the Kiphians.
Yeah, it does sound more peaceful.
Right.
Any ideas why there's such a difference?
It's hard to say for sure, but it could be their beliefs changing.
Makes sense.
Or maybe how they responded to the environment. Remember, the Canarians came later.
Right, after that dry period.
Exactly. So maybe their whole worldview was different by then.
So different burial styles, got it. But there's another piece here, right?
Ah.
The Tenarian graves, they had something we don't see with the Kiphians. Grave goods.
You got it. And these things give us a glimpse into, their beliefs, their values.
What kind of stuff are we talking?
Well, there's jewelry made from bone and shell, tools, even animal remains sometimes. Yeah, one guy was buried with a huge mud turtle shell.
A turtle shell. What was that all about?
We can only guess, really. But all these grave goods point to, a complex belief system about death and the afterlife.
Okay.
Maybe they saw these things as provisions for the journey to the next world,
Like they'd meet him on the other side.
Exactly. Or maybe they were symbols of their status or their job in life.
Wow, so it's like a personalized message from the past?
Kinda, yeah. But there's one burial that really stands out.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The one they call the Stone Age Embrace.
I've heard of that, yeah. It just sounds so powerful.
It is. It's a triple burial.
Yeah.
A woman and two kids all lying together, facing each other.
Oh.
Hands intertwined. That connection is still there after all this time.
That gives me chills, seriously.
Yeah.
It's not just bones and dirt. It's a real human story.
Right. It's amazing.
Do we know how they died?
That's still a mystery. No signs of injury or illness on the skeletons.
Okay.
But they were buried with 4 arrowheads, unused.
Huh. So maybe some kind of attack. Or a sudden tragedy.
Could be. It just adds to the mystery.
Yeah, a family struck down, their last moments together in this embrace. It's heartbreaking, but also incredible.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
And these burials, they tell us so much. But the skeletons themselves, they've got secrets too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You wouldn't believe the information we can get from bones and teeth that old.
Seriously?
Yeah, they tell us about diet, health, how active they were, even where they might have migrated from.
It's like a whole biological record of their lives.
It really is.
Okay, so what are these skeletons telling us? What did they eat? Were they healthy?
Well, for starters, the Kiphians, they were strong and healthy, no doubt.
Okay.
Their bones show big muscle attachments, meaning they were active, using their bodies.
Yeah, makes sense. They were hunters and fishers.
And get this, their teeth. Barely any decay.
What? Like better teeth than us?
Pretty much. It tells us they ate a good diet, high in nutrients, low in sugar.
Totally different from what we eat today.
Yeah, they'd be eating lots of fish, wild game, foraged plants, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. But what about the Tenarians? Were they as healthy?
They show good health, too, yeah. Although some of them have wear on their teeth.
Oh, interesting. So maybe their diet was different.
Could be. Maybe more gritty foods, tougher plants. If they were hurting, their diet would change a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we've got clues about their diet, but can we tell where they lived, if they moved around?
That's where the science gets cool.
Okay.
We can do something called strontium isotope analysis.
Whoa, that sounds complicated.
It is, but basically, we look at the chemical fingerprints in their bones,
Okay.
and with the Tenarians, it actually suggests they might have been more settled than we thought.
Wait, settled. I always thought, like, Sahara life meant moving around a lot.
It's a common assumption, yeah.
Ruh.
But the strontium isotopes match the local geology.
So they weren't traveling far.
Not that we can tell. Maybe they lived near water sources, moved their herds seasonally, but within a certain area.
So not constantly on the move.
Right, more like establishing little communities.
Huh. So our image of the Tenarians as nomads, maybe we need to rethink that.
It just shows you how much we're still learning.
Definitely. And it's amazing how much we can learn from just one skeleton.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But there's one individual at Gobero whose story could change everything we think we know.
Oh, you're talking about DNA Man.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, we got to talk about him.
He's a big deal.
Because he represents a whole new level of understanding these people, right?
Exactly. DNA Man could be the key to unlocking so many secrets about the people of Gobero.
Welcome back to the All Sorts podcast for the final part of our deep dive into Gobero. We've covered so much already. This green Sahara, the Kifians and Tenarians, their fascinating burials.
It's been a journey.
But now we're going to talk about a discovery that could rewrite everything.
Oh, yeah.
DNA Man.
DNA Man. He's a game changer because he offers a whole new way to understand these people, right?
So DNA Man, he represents this huge leap forward, right? Like,
Yeah.
we can potentially use his DNA to trace ancestry, migrations, even connections to people alive today.
Exactly. It's like finding a genetic time machine, you know?
Yeah. But you mentioned earlier, getting ancient DNA, especially in a place like the Sahara, it's super tough.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult.
Why is that?
The Sahara, it's just brutal. The heat, the sun, the dryness, it all destroys delicate stuff like DNA.
Okay.
Over time, it breaks down, degrades, and then trying to get a usable sample. It's like, imagine trying to put together a puzzle where most of the pieces are dust.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So what makes DNA Man so special then?
Well, unlike a lot of the other burials, he was buried a bit deeper.
Okay.
And that extra layer of sand might have been just enough to protect his DNA, keep it more intact.
Like it was tucked away, safe and sound.
Yeah, exactly.
So fingers crossed that we can actually get some usable DNA from it.
Yeah, I know, right?
But let's say, hypothetically, scientists are able to extract it and analyze it. What could we learn? What are the big questions we could answer?
Oh, the possibilities are huge. We could potentially trace his lineage, like connect him to actual modern populations.
Wow.
Imagine that, drawing a line from this individual buried thousands of years ago to people alive today.
That's mind-blowing. We could see how Gobero fits into the bigger story of, like, human migration, how we all evolved.
Exactly. And it goes beyond ancestry, too.
Ooh.
We could learn about his physical traits, his health, maybe even get some clues about his lifestyle or diet.
It's like opening a window into his life.
It really is, and into the lives of his people.
That's incredible. It's amazing to think that one skeleton could unlock so much.
It really is, and it makes you appreciate the power of science, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Gobero is like this testament to the fact that we're always searching for knowledge.
Always more to discover.
It reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to think about, like our place in this whole grand scheme of things.
Definitely. It's been really cool diving into all this with you.
It's been awesome. We started with this green Sahara teeming with life, and now we're talking about burials, ancient DNA. It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
But what stands out to you the most? What will you be thinking about even after this episode is over?
I think for me, it's that human resilience, you know? The people of Gobero, they thrived in a tough environment, they adapted, and they left behind this legacy that still blows our minds.
I agree. It shows us that the human story is all about adapting, innovating, connecting.
Right.
And it reminds us to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep searching for those moments that connect us to the past and help us understand the present.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, it's been a pleasure exploring the secrets of Gobero with you.
Likewise.
And a huge thank you to all of you listening for coming along on this incredible journey. If you're digging these deep dives into the ancient world,
And I think you are.
be sure to check out our other episodes on the All Sorts podcast. We've got a ton of fascinating topics just waiting to be uncovered.
We really do. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the All Sorts podcast on YouTube so you never miss an episode.
We're also on X, Instagram, and Threads, so come join the conversation.
Definitely.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open to the wonders of the world. Thanks for listening.